So yesterday we went ahead and did probability of simple events. Make sure you have your handout with you so we could go ahead and copy the notes. Now, yesterday we used a number cube and we used spinners. And with the spinners, we had even, the spinner was split evenly. Now, if you look at this spinner, it is split evenly, but what do you notice about the spinner? Yeah, there's 2 4s, there's 2 1s, and then 2 and 3 are just one section. Now it is split evenly, but now some of these events are actually going to be double the amount of others. So that's what we need to look. And we're still looking at quantitative. Remember, quantitative is a ratio, it's a number, and qualitative, and that's the words where you're describing if it's likely or unlikely. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. So they're asking, what's the probability of getting a 2 when you spin it? So if you look at this, you have how many sections?
6.
6 sections, and then how many 2s do you have? 1. So that means there's going to be 1 out of 6. So if it's 1 out of 6, then is it going to be likely or unlikely? Unlikely. Okay, yesterday we also went ahead and did a probability of an unfavorable event, which is the one that says not an event, not something. So number 2 is an example of that, and it says, what's the probability of not getting a 1? So how many sections are not 1? 4 sections, so that means this is going to be 4 out of 6, which we simplify to 2/3. So is 2/3 likely or unlikely?
Likely.
It's likely. Now, yesterday we also did where you want the probability of one or another event. Okay, that means that you need to combine the probability for those 2 events. So if you have the probability of 4, well, how many 4s do we have? 2. If you have the probability of 1, we have 2 also. So that means we adding those. So that's going to be 4 out of 6, which also is 2/3, and will also be likely. Oops. And now we're going to do the probability that's less than 5. Well, how many numbers are less than 5? All of them. So that means the probability is 6 out of 6, which equals to 1, and that's going to be certain. And then the last one, the probability of spinning a 6, that's just going to be 0. And we don't put a fraction because there's no such thing as 0 over a number. It's just going to be 0, and that's going to be impossible. So whenever you're doing probability, make sure you're looking at the spinner or the cube or whatever information they're giving you carefully, because they'll actually do that. And they did this one nicely because they put the 4s together. Okay, sometimes they put them apart, and sometimes the sections are smaller that you really need to look into it. So this next one, we are doing word problems, and if we have to draw it, I suggest you draw it. If you don't need to draw it, then you're fine. But remember, you always need to find the total of what the bag has or the container has or anything like that. So it says a bag contains 4 green marbles, 2 yellow marbles, 3 red marbles, and 1 pink marble. Suppose you reach in the bag and choose 1 marble at random. Determine the probability. So how many total marbles do we have?
10.
So you would add, right? 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1. So that is going to be 10 marbles. Okay, now that we know what the possible outcomes is, then we could go ahead and find the probability of the favorable event. So, probability of getting a red marble, 3 out of 10. Okay, and then is that unlikely or likely? Unlikely. Okay, the probability of getting green or yellow. So, yes, you have 4 green and 2 yellow, so that's going to be 6 out of 10. And can we simplify that? To what? 3 out of 5. So, is that likely or unlikely? That's likely. The probability of not getting a pink marble. 9 out of 10, because there's only one pink one, right? So 9 out of 10. So is that likely or unlikely? And we're done with that. Any questions on that one? Okay. Now, the last one, a lot of students were getting confused with that one on your assignment yesterday. So it says, of the flowers in Abigail's garden, 13 out of 18 are yellow. The others are white. She randomly picked a flower from the garden. What is the probability of its complement? So they gave you the yellow probability, right? So the complement would be, but what did it put here? Wouldn't it be not yellow?
Could you just put probability in white?
Yes, we could do that because that's basically what we're looking for, right? The probability of a white flower. But because it's saying the probability of its complement, you have to write not yellow. Okay, so that's where students get confused about. So whenever they say it's complement, then you're doing the unfavorable event of what they're giving you. So if you have 13 yellow flowers, how many are not yellow? 5. So that means the probability is 5 out of 18. And is that likely or unlikely? So don't get confused, because when they say complement, that's one thing that students get confused upon. And they would have put probability of yellow, but even though you would still get it right, it's still 518. But when they do the P and the parentheses and you guys put white, that's going to be an answer choice. But because they're asking for complement, you have to make sure that you are choosing the one that says not something. Got it? Okay, so this is your practice. I am going to give it to you. It is front and back. On the front is mostly looking at the the events and figuring out the probability. On the back is your sample space. Guys, tomorrow you have a quiz. So make sure that you are looking at that sample space. And if you're confused, make sure you're asking questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. You have 20 minutes, so you should be able to finish this. Do the ones that you understand quickly, and then go back to the ones that you don't understand, and that's where I'll try to help. Okay?